Battle lines for a new world order based on power are being drawn right now. So yes, Europe must fight for its place in the world, in which many major powers are either ambivalent or openly hostile to Europe, a world of imperial ambitions and imperial wars, a world in which dependencies are ruthlessly weaponized. And it is for all these reasons that a new Europe must emerge.
For the first time in history, foreign policy has become global. Communications are instantaneous, and there exist problems which are genuinely not national, like environment, nuclear proliferation, and similar issues. So in this sense, we are living in a new world, and a new world order will emerge. The only question is whether it will arise out of intellectual and moral insight and by design, or whether it will be forced on mankind by a series of catastrophes. That's the challenge of our period. And it makes it, to my mind, one of the most exciting periods in which anybody can live.
The second scenario is the giant leap. We wanted to identify a small set of actions, a minimum viable product, to reach as many sustainable development goals in Europe's vision of a social and green region. We wanted to take a systems approach to explore if we can achieve an acceptable level of well-being for the global majority on a finite planet. We conclude that nothing less than the following 5 extraordinary turnarounds are needed to have well-being for all while respecting planetary boundaries. Ending poverty, addressing gross inequality, achieving full gender equity, transforming the food system and the way we eat, transitioning to clean energy and efficient energy. We argue that these 5 extraordinary turnarounds and the set of economic reforms that will drive them form the basis of a well-being economy. It is not a blueprint, but more of a guide for systemic transformation. In this scenario, poverty ends a generation earlier than too little too late. We see gender empowerment in 1 generation, not 10. We see a switch to healthier plant-based diets. There is still meat consumption, but at sustainable levels. And we have carbon dioxide emissions every decade to reach net zero by 2050. The economic model everywhere is circular, regenerative, and efficient. Material consumption of unsustainable resources is reined in, fossil energy phased out, and we see a significant redistribution of wealth. In this scenario, we introduce a universal basic dividend operating like a universal basic income, with dividends coming to all people, sharing the wealth of the global commons and public goods. Who's taking the wealth now? It is not properly redistributed. This is not utopic. This is what is fair and just and what a society in transformation is all about. Why do we think this is important? We know the giant leap will be disruptive. We're talking about a complete shakeup. This is everything, everywhere, all at once. It will create shocks. But if it is to succeed, then we must bring the majority of people along the journey.
These guys, they, as you said, 17 SDGs, they dress it up in all this language. It sounds like charity. It sounds like progress. It sounds like unicorns and fairy farts. But at the end of the day, what's behind it? You have a look. It's censorship, digital ID, digital surveillance, climate authoritarianism, all that's going to come with that, abortion. I mean, how does that help the poor? Abortion, but it's in there. And gender ideology. How is that helping to alleviate poverty? I don't understand it. But these are the things that are actually in Agenda 2030. When you strip it back, all of the buzzwords that are there, this is a left-wing paradise. That is what it is. And the fact is that, hey, who of us voted for the UN? Who of us voted for the delegates to go to the UN? This is not about democracy. And this is the problem that I have key with it. You know, strip it away the ideological stuff. Let's just say that democracy in countries like ours is supposed to be from the grassroots up. We go to our local legislator, politician, and we say, hey, We've got a problem with issue X. We want it fixed. But this is not that. This is the UN imposing down on us their agenda. And their agenda, as I said, this is global socialism with a smiling face.
They love when people get angry and push back, because then they can say we need tougher laws. And, you know, the mass migration crisis, this is comical, Paul. This one is so obvious to me or you. The mass migration is being driven with zero question by the globalists. From 100 years ago in the Kalergi Plan, it's always been a desire to undermine all the nations, turn everything into a blob and rule it. That is without question. But the mass migration now, Starmer and others, there's big pushes now to bring in a digital identity card in the UK. Guess what for? Oh, to help with this mass migration problem all of you filthy peasants are angry about, we'll give you a solution. A universal digital ID. Yeah. You couldn't make it up.
As the Prime Minister pointed out yesterday, by nixing net zero, are you saying that climate change isn't real?
What an absurd thing to say. I mean, net zero emissions is a plan that's 3 years old. I mean, no one had ever heard of net zero emissions until 7 or 8 years ago. There's no magic about the 2050 figure. It's just an arbitrary year that's been chosen. And as I say, it's a massive socialist plan. Net zero emissions by 2050 means that the government has to direct how you drive, what you can eat, how we make power, how we make everyday things, the whole thing. They plan the whole economy. Now Joseph Stalin only did 5-year plans. This government thinks it can do 25-year plans. They're just not work. It just don't work. These sort of socialist plans never work, and this one is not working. Because how about the Prime Minister simply deliver on what he promised? How about he does that instead of raise these ridiculous points to distract attention from the fact that he hasn't lowered power prices like he said he would. He said his net zero plan would cut your power bill by $275. Now they don't even have any plan to lower energy prices. They've instead gone up massively. He said, the Prime Minister said, that by signing up to net zero emissions, we'd have these wonderful new industries that would create thousands of more jobs in critical minerals and hydrogen. The hydrogen situation is a complete mess, a massive waste of taxpayer dollars. And even on the critical minerals side of things, we've lost our nickel industry since we signed up to net zero. That's not happening either. So rather than insulting other people, why doesn't the Prime Minister just deliver what he said he would do?
Canada. I think we have to keep looking at Canada now as the puppet for the WEF. Anything they want to try is happening right across the border from us. That is what they want for the whole world. You have to recognize this is not an anomaly. It is not going away. They are going to make it so that one day we are dipped down into a vat of jelly like the Matrix. We are, vicariously experiencing the Grand Canyon. I just saw because Kim Kardashian is going to take a trip down there sponsored by CNN, and that's the only way you get to see this space. I'm serious, folks. This is getting really scary, and it's really close to our border. And for those of you in Canada, I don't know what to say. How are you voting for these people? How are they getting there? Please. This should be career ender for anyone that takes your woods. One of the most beautiful nations, Canada. People go fly fishing. They fly from here to go fish, and now you can't? What are we talking about? We're all going to live in cities, 15-minute cities, no nature. This one gets me because I'm a nature lover. It really does. And I care about nature. I care about the environment because I got to be in nature. What do they think? Anyone's going to care about the environment if they never get to see it? This is insanity at an all new level.
If you have digitally verified ID, then you run into the problems of digitally verified ID, and they're running down that road in China now. So in China, for example, God, this is going to happen here, I think, too. Although maybe people will fight it. If a traffic camera catches you jaywalking in China, okay, so the digital ID system has you. It has your blood now. It has your genetic code. It has your photograph. It can identify how you walk. So even if you can't see a face, you can be picked up by gait. It will convict you of jaywalking and take money out of your bank account with no intermediating judiciary at all, and show a picture of you to the people in the neighborhood so they know that you have jaywalked, and reduce your social credit score. And if your social credit score falls below a certain level, then you can't buy drinks from a vending machine. You can't play video games. You can't go on a train. You can't get out of your 15-minute city. All that's already in place in China.
Do you think that would be helpful or unhelpful?
It would be, I think it would bring in, and it has already in China, I think it'll bring in a totalitarian tyranny so 100% complete that it would make George Orwell's 1984 look like a picnic.
In case you can't see what's going on, this is there's a plan here. It's unfolding a world. The first thing is to create chaos and overwhelming the systems. There's people being brought in, overwhelming all kinds of systems. There's a catch and release policy. Cops are being punished for doing their job, dealing with actual crimes. The people who are committing these crimes are getting off and being released. Meanwhile, you're told not to deal with someone breaking into your home. Why is everyone going along with this? You have to understand, this is all about bringing in a digital ID and a one world government. They want to keep track of everything. That's why they're sowing chaos. So we demand order. And then they're going to say, oh, this digital ID is what's going to give you order. It's going to give you the ability to relive your life. And we'll keep track of everybody who's bad, not the actual bad people, though. And then they're going to say, oh, we're going to keep track of your carbon scores so that we could save the planet from climate change. Don't pay attention to the fact, though, that they are going to have to create all kinds of new natural gas plants to power this AI. And the fact that they've also told people to put in heat pumps and electrify everything, they're going to start giving the electricity to the AIs rather than to people to survive because you've been a non-compliant, useless eater. Anyway, that's just a brief summary of what's really going on if you don't understand already. Please start looking into it. Look into the other videos I've made and please share this. Have a wonderful day.
You know, we've been saying it for years, it's not chaos, it's planned. Deport migrants, destroy culture, jail citizens for criticism, turn the police against the citizen, invoke digital IDs or surveillance, bankrupt nations to eliminate governments, eliminate private property, that will no longer exist. And the final step will be to transfer citizens to a global government. And this is also the reason for the cost of living crisis, to keep you busy surviving, so you never start fighting back or living. And if you ask me, you absolutely cannot screw up a country this bad, this fast, unless it were on purpose. Now please change my mind.
It is coming to a head. Definitely. We are at the cusp of some major catastrophic events going down, because the clips we've been watching, they've been planning all this all along. While a lot of people are distracted, a lot of people have their thumb up their ass and twirling on it. Well, the powers that shouldn't be, they have seriously, like I always say, there is a method to their madness, right? All this chaos that's been going on for a long time, that is part of the chaos that will help them bring about the NWO, right? There is a method to their madness. It looks like things are just out of hand, so to speak, but this is how they want it. This is exactly what they want. That's why I put together a couple of these clips to kind of like, drive the point home for you so you'll understand what you're dealing with here. That's why you have this guy, Kissinger. This is Klaus Schwab's mentor, Henry Kissinger, speaking in '92. That's just to show you how far along this whole thing has been coming. And it's already been in works before '92, right? It says a new world order will emerge. The only question is whether it will arise out of intellectual and moral insight and by design, or whether it will be forced on mankind by a series of catastrophes. You see that? So this is what they want. They want to force this NWO on mankind through a series of catastrophes. And part of that catastrophes is the civil war that is brewing, all these wars that is all going on around, right? The migration crisis is all part of it, right? the whole terrorist, the whole hate speech. We have to regulate the internet and all this stuff, right? The pandemic. These are all, like if you remember, they called it the Great Reset. They told you that the C-19er is an opportunity to rebuild. It gave a very good opportunity there. You've all Noah Harari talking about that. You have Klaus Schwab talking about that. You know, a lot of people with their mindset, the WEF and things, saying the exact same thing, that COVID provided an opportunity for them to do what they got to do. So that is that series of catastrophes that will bring in the NWO. And this is where we are. This is where we are. So everything happening on the world stage, you have to pay attention to. You have to be very mindful to it. Even the deception, especially the deception, right? The deception is through the roof. People being assassinated on live. These are all part of the series of catastrophes that will bring about the NWO. And it's only gonna get worse. It is only gonna get worse. You better believe that. So quickly, let's get this here in the book of Revelations, the 12th chapter and the 12th verse. It says, "Therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who live in the heavens, rejoice. But terror will come on the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you in great anger, knowing that he has little time." All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rechah HaKodash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and continue to teach us this truth. Peace, salutation, shalom, shalom, shalom to all your brothers and sisters out there that are of the household of faith, beginning with 144,000 down to the men, women, and children that are allotted to be delivered in these latter days, who are all of the elect, and to the brothers that are pushing this gospel in all sincerity and in all honesty. To you all I say shalom, which means peace to you. And this is where we are. The wicked elites, they understand that. They don't have a lot of time to be playing around with it. Neither do you, right? So what are they going to do? They're going to come at you with everything. That is that series of catastrophes. Because now the deception is not really working out the way they thought, right? Because part of it, what he said, the only question is whether it will arise out of intellectual and moral insight. What do you think that is? Well, to deceive you into complying to this, which they tried to do it with the C-19er to see how far they can go with it, right? A lot of people fell victim to it, but still, there were still a lot of people that opposed it. We have the whole truckers in Canada, all throughout Europe, truckers, farmers protesting this whole thing, right? So now it's no longer about just trying to use deception. They're about to bring about a series of catastrophes. You can lump in your geoengineering in there, right? Because that's part of that. That's why they push that narrative about climate change and things of that nature, right? This all ties in. It all ties in to this whole NWO that are looking to emerge, right? It all ties in to it. So you got to understand what times you're living in and pay attention what is happening around you. They have a little time, and with that little time that they have, they can afford to play around with it. So the world is about to experience a lot of series of catastrophes. You're already experiencing it. It's only got to escalate. This is the book of Job, the 20th chapter and the 5th verse. It says, let's start at the 4th verse. It says, "Knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short," just like we read earlier. They had but a short time, a little time, right? So the triumphing of the wicked, meaning the wicked that are in authority right now, who are Edomites, the wicked elites, right? They're all Edomites, every single one of them. Guess what? They're triumphing, meaning they having the rulership over the earth, they having the power over the earth, As it tells you in the book of Job, the 9th chapter and the 24th verse, that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So they have it on lock, but that is only for a short time. So their victory that they have over the earth, to be able to pollute the earth the way they've done, right? Pollute the water, pollute everything, pollute the minds of the people, right? Totally destroy everything at their wake. Livestock, crops, trees, everything has been destroyed and polluted and hijacked and turned into something else. GMOs and things like that, your food, everything that you use, weaponized and totally destroyed. Why? Because the wicked, they're the ones doing that, right? But they have a short time to do all they've done. And they know this, they understand this, right? Every rulership that has ruled the Romans, the Greeks, the Neo-Babylonians, right? All those empire came and fell. The Persians, the Medes, right? It says, and the joy of the hypocrite, but for a moment, right? Who's a hypocrite? Well, you can tie in the American government into that. Here they are, they tell you in God we trust, and talk about God this and God that. Meanwhile, they don't uphold anything that is written in the Bible. They don't. So they are hypocrites. It says, though his excellency mount up to the heavens and his head reach unto the clouds. What is that? Well, in this regard, we tie it up to their NWO and what they've done in succession to get to the NWO. That is part of their excellency, to have the whole world in their hands. Right? The wicked elites, they have the whole world in their hands. The whole banking system is in their hands. The whole military system is in their hands. Every weapons of war is in their hands. They have ways to manipulate weather. That is all part of their excellency. In other words, it is reached to its plateau, mount up to heavens. Right? And his head reach unto the clouds, yet he shall perish forever like his own dung, like his own shit. You see, that is what is coming for them. So they don't have time to be playing. They're about to come at the whole world with everything they got. You see? Say, they which have seen him shall say, where is he? So the wicked elites you see now is going to come a time where there will be nowhere to be found. The name Rockefellers, Rothschild, you won't even hear it anymore. Why? Because they will no longer be in rulership. That is why they're looking to establish the NWO and to chip everybody, to put a microchip in you. That is the mark of the beast, to label you with the mark of the beast. That is their final hurrah. That is their last strategy that they have. The mark of the beast. Everything they're doing is leading towards that. The digital ID, the carbon footprints, everything that they're pushing is leading towards the mark of the beast. It says, he shall away as a dream and shall not be found. Yea, he shall be chased away as a vision of the night. The eye also which saw him shall see him no more, neither shall his place any more behold him. In other words, they wouldn't have the control over the earth like they did. That control they had over the earth will be null and void. That power will be taken away from them, because the power that they have right now was given to them by the God of the Bible, Yahweh, through his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shah. So the time is coming where they will no longer have that power. That's why it says, the eye also which saw him shall see him no more, neither shall his place any more behold him. What is their place? Well, their rulership, their excellency. It says, his children shall seek to please the poor, and his hand shall restore their goods. His bones are full of the sin of his youth, which shall lie down with him in the dust. So everything they've done, this is how they are. Going back to Cain, going back to the serpent in the garden. Right? So all they've done is how to be wicked, evil, to the very core of them. That's why he says his bones are full of the sin of his youth. Since the inception of the wicked, all they've done is wickedness, evil, throughout the whole earth. Right? That is their nature. The vessels of wrath fitted for destruction. That is just who they are. It So we shall lie with him in the dust. So when he's taken away, all that wickedness will go with him. So though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, though he hide it under his tongue, right? That's how they get down. And they try to push their agenda through their policies, right? They put things into law that is not okay to do. So they hide it in their mouth. One way they're telling you, oh, we need to, for the greater good of mankind, right? We have to turn to Green New Deal, to the green way of living, right? Reduce carbon and things like that. Meanwhile, if you really pick apart what they're really saying, is nothing good for the earth, right? And moreover, they're the ones that have destroyed the earth. Now they're trying to cry and tell you, oh, man is the problem with it. Now you are the wicked elites. You are who are Edomites. See? It says, though he spare it not and forsake it not, but keep it still within his mouth. So he doesn't know anyhow else to live but the way he's living in the earth. The way he has the whole earth on the wrong vibration, on wicked, evil vibration. That's just the way they are. It says, yet his meat in his bowels is turned, and it is the gall of asp within him. He hath swallowed them riches, and he shall vomit them up again. In other words, all the way they've lived so good, it would all turn back and bite them in the ass. Just like the parable of Lazarus and the rich man, right? So Lazarus, the poor, and the rich man is living good. Then there was that trading places. So Lazarus became rich and the rich man became poor. And he was catching nothing but pure hell. That's what the scripture is describing here. The wicked elites, they are about to catch nothing but pure hell. And they can see their rulership crumbling within them. That's why the only way now is this mark of the beast with the AI technology to try to subjugate the whole earth so that they will keep on ruling. There's no way, Jose. It says, he hath swallowed them riches, he shall vomit them up again. The Most High shall cast them out of his belly. He shall suck the poison of asps, and the viper's tongue shall slay him. He shall not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey and butter. It's just telling you how he's not going to be living good anymore. Because the way the wicked elites live, you can't even think about how they live. It's beyond your means. They eat the best food, drink the best of, the best of the best. They don't have to worry about paying bills. They don't have to worry about nothing. But very soon, that is not going to be the case. That's what the scripture is saying. So that which he labored for shall he restore, and shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be, and he shall not rejoice therein, because he hath oppressed and hath forsaken the poor. That's what we see. The gap between the rich and the poor is huge. Huge, very huge. And they love to see it that way. They don't care about the poor. They don't care. Veterans that go and fight war, they're all in the streets. Nobody care about them. Right? The true biblical Israelites, they're catching hell. Nobody cares about them. The poor, they don't care. The wicked elites, they're living it up. They don't care. If anything, they call you useless eater. So the little you have, you shouldn't even have it. That's how they feel. That's why the Most High is saying here, because he hath oppressed and hath forsaken the poor, because he had violently taken away an house which he builded not. You will own nothing and be happy. They've taken everything from people. You don't really own anything. They tax you for the things you're supposed to own, and when you can't pay the tax, they take it back. That is no life, man. That's what they've done. It says, surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. He shall not save of that which he desired. So he's about to catch nothing but hell. And all the goodly ways he's been living, dainty ways he's been living, guess what? It's about to, like the rug is pulled from their feet. You see? It says, he shall there shall none of his meat be left. Therefore shall no man look for his goods, because he wouldn't have none. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. What is that? That is the NWO. So when they're about to fully establish the NWO, that is when their downfall will begin. So the plateau of the NWO, the top echelon of their plan of the NWO is to put this mark of the beast into every man, woman, and child. So once they do that, that is when the wicked elites will start falling. Fall lightning speed. It says, every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. And that every hand of the wicked, meaning the laborers. Because if we look up the wicked, because this wicked here is different from the wicked who have been written earlier. Right? Because if you look up this word wicked here, see that? Laborers. So the ones that are working, the laborers, the workmen and the workwomen, guess what? They will be like, enough is enough. They will understand that the major problem is the wicked elites, and they will turn on the wicked elites as well. Laborer, sufferer, wretched one. The poor, laborer, workman, sufferer, toiling. So it's different from the wicked who've been reading earlier. That's why the scriptures, you have to read it. Go back to the words, the root words, because sometimes it might get confusing. Like, how can the hand of the wicked be on the wicked also, right? Because the wicked there is different from the wicked we've been reading earlier. It says, every hand of the wicked, the laborers, those that are suffering, shall come upon him. So the wicked elites, his subjects, right? They are subjects, so to speak, the 1%ers. The rest of the world will realize, them, we've been played. And then they will come up against the wicked. Right? It says, when he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain upon him while he is eating. So while this NWO that Kissinger is talking about here, they're looking to establish, whether by deception or by force, right? That is what the scripture is saying here, when he's about to fill his belly. So when they're about to totally establish the NWO, the Most High shall catch the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain in upon him while he's eating, while they're enjoying their NWO, thinking, oh man, we've chipped up the whole earth, we'll put them in 15-minute cities, right? We'll feed them lab-grown meat, we'll feed them GMOs and things. We own everything. They don't own nothing. So while they're about to totally bask in all of that glory, guess what? Most High will cast his fury upon them. It says, he shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. What is that? That is the missiles, right? So the World War III, in the midst of all of this, World War III will break out. And the wicked elites, their empire, they will see their empire being bombarded with missiles, especially in America, which is Babylon, right? So it is drawn and cometh out of the body, yea, the glittering sword cometh out of his gall. Terrors are upon him, right? So that glittering sword coming out of the silos, that's the glittering swords, right? That's what the scripture is talking about. So the missiles, when they shoot them out of the silos, it will make the wicked elites terror. They will feel terror upon themselves, because they know that this is the end. Goes on to say, all darkness shall be hid in his secret places. A fire nor bloom shall consume him. Because the conventional way of making fire back in the old days, right? You use whatever it is you're using, then you blow on the fire so it can catch on. So this fire is going into the missile. So this is not the conventional fire they're used to. This is another kind of fire, which is the missiles. Will consume him. It shall go ill with him that is left in his tabernacle, right? Everyone that is left in America will be totally consumed. If you're not of the elect, the 144,000 and the rest of the 1/3, the men, women, and children that are allotted to be delivered in this latter days, guess what? You will be consumed in that fire, that consuming fire. It goes on to say, the heavens shall reveal his iniquity, and the earth shall rise up against him. That's what is happening. They're being exposed. That's why they're looking to regulate the internet. Because every move they make, people are on the internet calling them out on their bullshit. Right? So the increase of his house shall depart, and his goods shall flow away in the day of his wrath. This is the portion of the wicked man from the Most High, and the heritage appointed unto him by the Most High. So all we've read, that is the portion of the wicked. So this wicked here is talking about the real wicked, not the laborers. You see? So let's finish out with this real quick. In the book of Revelations, the 3rd chapter and the 10th verse, it says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. What is that? That's when they will make that mark of the beast, when they were mandated to make the whole earth to get that mark of the beast, just like they did with the C-19er, right? They tried to get everybody to get jabbed. That was a tryout run. So that will be the hour of temptation, because as everything is going digital. Without it, you won't be able to buy nothing. You won't be able to go nowhere. You won't be able to live in this NW world that they are building. But if, like it says here, because thou hast kept the word of my patience. What is the word of your patience? Well, in Revelation, the 13th chapter and the 16th verses, tells you not to take it. Not to take the mark of the beast. That anyone that take it will be destroyed. It tells you that in the Revelations, the 14th chapter. So, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. What is that? This truth, this knowledge, this wisdom that we've been given. You have to hold it fast, no matter what. And you shouldn't fall victim to the wiles of the devil, to the deception of the devil, and end up taking his mark. And with that, all glory, honor, praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachaha, Kodash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone. See you next time, Lord willing. Shalom. Shalom.